Greetings, Hermes Press fans. Dan Herman, publisher of Hermes Press, with something special, important, and historically significant. Doesn't that sound pretentious? Well, in this case, it isn't pretentious. I don't think anybody who knows anything about the history of comic strips would argue that Pogo and Walt Kelly is perhaps, if not the most important, one of the most important strips in the 20th century. It combines phenomenal drawing and draftsmanship, humor, political satire, and classic fairy tale storytelling, together with hundreds and hundreds of characters who actually have personalities, and to those who are fans of the strip, are almost real. He took the best aspects of Walt Disney's animation, his work for Walt Disney, and transformed it into something very personal and very important and unique in the history of 20th century comic strips. But as fans of Walt Kelly know, Pogo was the only comic strip that actually started as a comic book in animal comics. Hermes Press has been printing, or reprinting is I think more appropriate, all of the Dell Animal comics and Pogo Possum comics of Walt Kelly for several years now. But one project which we had wanted to do for years, with the constant urging of one of our special projects editors, Thomas Andrae, or Tom Andrae as I call him, or Dr. Tom Andrae, a shout out to Tom, was to do Walt Kelly's fantasy Peter Wheat. Now, Peter Wheat is interesting in comic books because it was a comic book that was never sold, was not available in comic book stores, but was given away when the Peter Wheat bread man came around, or the Krug bread man came around selling Peter Wheat bread. And this is not like a lot of comic books that were done for people that were selling things. It isn't like the big boy comic books where it sells hamburgers. This does not sell anything. It is a legitimate fantasy created by Walt Kelly in a manner which is classic fantasy, which is not only interesting for kids. I mean, a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid can read this and really enjoy it, but so can an adult. One of the things I found most compelling when we were considering doing this book, because doing a book like this is very difficult to sell, but as a publisher I felt that historically it was important to preserve Peter Wheat because it only came out in a 16-page comic book which you picked up at the bread truck. It wasn't widely collected and is not really widely available, and there are very few collections which have the complete run. We are going to print the entire run. This is volume 1. It prints, I believe, 15 of the original issues, 14. It has issues 1 through 14. The remainder will be printed in the second volume. What I'm showing you is the limited edition of 100, which is a hardcover. The book was printed in a trade paperback version, which is the one that is more affordable. This is $35. It has a different cover. It's got the same content. It has printing on the inside. We have what you might call an end leaf, and then paper on the inside. The covers are different. The content's the same. Personally, I like the hardcover better because you can put it in your collection with the Pogo reprints, the complete Dell Pogo reprints, and it'll fit very nicely in with the complete set. And we're currently soliciting Volume 6. Volume 5 has been printed and delivered and is getting very good reviews. In putting a book together like this, first of all, finding the material is very difficult, and again, credit for that goes to Tom Andrae. As a matter of fact, this book would not exist without Tom Andrae bugging me for 5 or 6 years to do it. I always knew that I wanted to do it. We just had to take the risk of doing it because printing a book like this is very expensive, and unfortunately, it is not well known. Through this book, hopefully, it will be well known. And if you're a fan of Walt Kelly's, this book is a must-have. It's historically important. It's a good read. It's a lot of fun. And it's great fairy tales. There's also 2 exhaustive essays in this book. One, obviously, by Tom, which has the advertising artwork in it. It has cutouts and things that were available. And then there's a second piece by the individual who supplied us with the most of the material in here. Maggie Thompson supplied us with one of the comic books, but Stephen Thompson is also, along with Tom, responsible for the creation of this book, as most of the material came from his collection. He wrote the second essay. So I can't describe to you how significant this book is without boring you to death. But in the history of the work done by Walt Kelly, this is truly a standout work. It was obviously a labor of love for him. He was not under editorial constraint when he did it. He had always wanted to do something akin to this specific type of fairy tale. And he did it, and he accomplished it in an extremely successful way. These characters have nothing to do with selling bread. It stands alone and outside the fact that it was created for commercial purposes. While comic books are created for commercial purposes, that is to make money, they transcend the rationale, the reason for their creation, and take that step sometimes over the threshold of merely being a commercial commodity into being art. Pogo transcends that and takes that step into that delicate territory, and so does Peter Wheat. Peter Wheat is available, at least the trade paperback is available through bookstores. It's available on Amazon.com. It's available anywhere you have a bookstore. The hardcover is not. The hardcover was printed in a very, very small edition and is available through Diamond and through Hermes Press only. And there are very few copies left because it was printed specifically to order. And you can't print the number ordered because they don't print to exact numbers. So we do have some extras, but not many. The price differential isn't significantly great, but it is higher. This book is $35. This book is $60. If you want the content, obviously this is the book to get. If you want a book that'll fit in your library and will fit right next to all of the reprints of the complete Adele Pogo, then this is the book you want, because it'll line up perfectly with the rest of the books. It's exactly the same size, and it's printed on the same paper and has the same type of binding. Truly a historic project. So give us some assistance in paying the printing bill, and if you were the least bit interested, I would highly recommend this book as being not only an interesting book, which no one really has ever seen this material except a select few collectors, and take a chance and look at it. You will not be disappointed. That's all for now. Thanks. Bye.